Do you imagine that in our space travels we will encounter other forms of intelligent life?
You don't have to go anywhere.
You can find it here.
Yeah.
Where exactly?
It's just like right under people's noses. Oh my gosh. Wow.
I would say remain skeptical, absolutely. But there comes a point where the evidence becomes overwhelming.
Elizondo says we're not at that point yet, but he believes something is out there, and ignoring it just won't fly.
When you're talking about superintelligent AI that can make changes to itself, it seems that we only have one chance to get the initial conditions right. And even then, we will need to absorb the economic and political consequences of getting them right.
Businesses are extremely cagey about talking about their interest in artificial intelligence. Not surprising, given that robots or algorithms could replace humans in any number of ways.
But the moment we admit that information processing is the source of intelligence, that some appropriate computational system is what the basis of intelligence is, and we admit that we will improve these systems continuously, and we admit that the horizon of cognition very likely far exceeds what we currently know, then we have to admit that we're in the process of building some sort of God. Now would be a good time to make sure it's a God we can live with. Thank you very much.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh.
This object appeared off the California coast in 2004 and baffled 2 Navy pilots.
Tonight, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs, unidentified flying objects, and weirdly, no one seems to be too worked up about it.
For years, Elizondo ran a $22 million Pentagon effort aimed at understanding the physics of sightings like this one.
Most of the sightings looked at were by U.S. military personnel who have been reporting UFO sightings for decades.
I'm absolutely convinced that's all there is to it.
Do you also believe that UFOs have come to Earth?
There has been and is an existing presence, an ET presence.
Pentagon officials this month acknowledged the existence of the program, insisting that the effort had ended after 5 years back in 2012. But the former head of that program, Luis Elizondo, told the Times the UF program never shut down.
He believes the way that school bus-sized object moved defied the known laws of physics.
What we are looking at is truly beyond next generation technologies.
I have never seen anything in my life that had the performance, the acceleration. Keep in mind, this thing had no wings.
Commander David Fravor was piloting an F-18 on a training mission that day in 2004.
And it's moving around left, right, forward, back. The radar immediately starts getting jammed. All of a sudden, it takes off.
It sounds like a plot out of the X-Files.
The truth is out there.
Or something the Men in Black would zap from your memory.
Flash of light you saw in the sky was not a UFO.
So from what you know about aerodynamics, mechanics, physics, should this be possible, what you saw?
Not with the technology that we have today. Not at all.
Even now, even 13 years later, is there anything that you know of capable of this kind of behavior?
No, there's nothing I know of.
According to one of the 2 pilots who encountered this mysterious object, it hovered over the ocean, causing the sea to churn, and then, quote, accelerated like nothing I've ever seen.
They're all going against the wind. The wind's 100.
Bottom line, what do you think this was?
I believe, as do the other folks that were on the flight when we visually saw it, that it was something not from this world.
An interstellar object has come from another solar system. Astronomers have been watching a mysterious object passing our sun, and they've given it a name called Oumuamua.
Speeding past our planet at nearly 200,000 miles an hour before anybody on Earth spotted it with a telescope above the clouds in Hawaii, where astronomers named the asteroid Oumuamua, Hawaiian for a messenger from afar arriving first.
How unusual was it to have something this old, this large, and originating from so far away in space pass through our solar system?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, at this point, we have not seen anything of this size, this shape, coming from outside of the solar system. I mean, it is cigar-shaped, which is very unusual for any kind of natural type of object.
Well, here's some science that is really puzzling in many ways, not the least of which it's a program that's now over, discontinued, 5 years ago, but the Pentagon has just released that it had hidden a UFO program that it closed down in 2012.
And it got passed off as an event that no one could explain. Now keep in mind, they had been tracking these for 2 weeks prior to us seeing it, and this was the first time that manned airplanes had been airborne when the objects appeared.
This feels like a really big story to me. It's not exactly clear why Vladimir Putin's more interesting than this. I think this seems like a big deal. And Commander, I appreciate your taking the time to talk to us about it.
Thank you, Jordy. First question over here.
Hi, Jody. My name is Naren, and I do really want to talk to you after this. So, you were talking about summoning the demon by Elon Musk, right? And there are a lot of other pioneers in this industry, such as Andrew Ng, who was a former chief scientist at Baidu. When he was asked the same question about summoning the demon, he said that his analogy was, it's more like thinking about overpopulation Mars. It was completely the opposite. But when there are two pioneers in this industry who have different sets of opinions, how do you think that it's summoning the demon rather than the other way around?
Well, obviously people are going to have different opinions. You have to make up your mind yourself. So my general comment is that people always miss the future. It's this old thing that people are always saying things will go faster than they do in the short term and slower in the long term. The only question is how long it will take. I encourage you to watch that Sam Harris TED Talk if you're interested in this.
And given that the companies and governments doing this work are likely to perceive themselves to be in a race against all others, given that to win this race is to win the world, provided you don't destroy it in the next moment, then it seems likely that whatever is easier to do will get done first. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a solution to this problem, apart from recommending that more of us think about it. I think we need something like a Manhattan Project on the topic of artificial intelligence.
So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate, and going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the healthcare plan in the US, and underneath it all is this rising tsunami.
Okay, if intelligence is just a matter of information processing, and we continue to improve our machines, we will produce some form of superintelligence. And we have no idea how long it will take us to create the conditions to do that safely. Let me say that again. We have no idea how long it will take us to create the conditions to do that safely. And if you haven't noticed, 50 years is not what it used to be. I mean, this is 50 years in months. This is how long we've had the iPhone. This is how long The Simpsons has been on television. 50 years is not that much time to meet one of the greatest challenges our species will ever face. And once again, we seem to be failing to have an appropriate emotional response to what we have every reason to believe is coming. The computer scientist Stuart Russell has a nice analogy here. He said, imagine that we received a message from an alien civilization which read, "People of Earth, we will arrive on your planet in 50 years. Get ready." And now we're just counting down the months until the mothership lands. Okay. We would feel a little more urgency than we do.
But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want.
We have clear things that we do not understand how they work operating in areas that we can't control.
The fact that a secret department in the Pentagon thought they were worth millions of dollars of investigation has many wondering if the truth is out there.
We start looking around, and both airplanes see a disturbance in the water and a white 40-foot long tic-tac shaped object just hovering above the water, going forward, back, left, right. There's no rotor wash, there's no wings, nothing. So as we drive around in a clockwise flow, we get to about the 9 o'clock position, and I said, well, I'm going to go down and check it out, and the other jet is going to stay high. I get over to the 8 o'clock position, it's at about the 2 o'clock position, and I decide I'm going to go and see what it is, and it's about 2,000 feet below me, and I cut across the circle, and as I get within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerates to the south in about 2 seconds and disappears.
What would you estimate the speed?
Oh, well above supersonic. It like a bullet out of a gun, it took off, and in less than 2 seconds it was gone, and you figure you're talking 50 miles of visibility, and you can easily see an object that size easily out to 10 miles, and it just disappeared in seconds.
The study of steps to knowledge is a preparation for our contact with intelligent life in the universe, because it builds a connection between our intellect and this greater intelligence called knowledge that exists within each one of us. This greater intelligence represents the core of our strength as individuals. And if it is united with others, it becomes an immense social strength, a strength of the human family, a strength of self-determination, a strength that is free from external manipulation and control. Steps to knowledge as a spiritual practice builds this kind of conscious connection between our thinking mind and a deeper knowing mind within us. And we're going to need this core strength to face the challenges and the opportunities of emerging into a greater community of intelligent life in the universe. This requires that we rise above our superstitions, that we rise above our animosities, we rise above our troubled history and our grievances with one another. This core strength gives us the power to do this. But where will we find the strength to do it? Where is that power going to come from? Some people think the power comes from God, that God will lift us up. But in the New Message teaching and in the Allies of Humanity briefings, it is made clear to us that this power has already been given to us. A power we do not use, a power we do not refer to, a strength that we do not recognize, and that we greatly need in our individual lives, in everything that we do. If we are to remain a free people in a universe of powerful influences, if we are to face competition from beyond our world, for who will be dominant within this world, competition that every native race must face, if we are to establish our own rules of engagement and our own ethics of contact with whomever is in the world today and whomever we may encounter in the future, we're going to need this core strength. And Steps to Knowledge gives us the greatest opportunity to find, to experience, and to express this great strength.